The moment I realized my uncle, Martin, had sold my future for his gain, I froze. I held the signed contract in my hands, the one he promised would secure my scholarship, and now it was his personal advantage. My heart thumped, disbelief and betrayal mixing into a burning rage. Every promise, every word he said, was a lie. I whispered my own name, Tay. How could this happen? The camera of my life focused on his smirk. I want you to subscribe now because what happens next is unreal. I tried confronting him at dinner that night. He laughed, calling me naive. But as I watched him, I noticed something, a tiny inconsistency in his story, a faint tremor when he said my name. I realized he feared exposure more than he wanted profit. That night, I started plotting silently, gathering the first proof he couldn't ignore. At school, I overheard my so-called friend, Lila, mention Martin's deal to someone else. The look of shame on her face as she realized she spoke too loudly made me grin. If he wanted to play dirty, I'd need allies. I started secretly documenting everything, every phone call, every email, every hidden receipt. Martin started acting confident, flaunting his success. But I noticed his assistant, Jonah, nervously glancing at him. I cornered Jonah under the pretense of needing career advice. By the end of our conversation, I had his confession about how Martin manipulated every contract. I walked away smiling, my first real weapon in hand. I invited Martin to a family celebration for a fake scholarship I supposedly secured abroad. The moment he smiled, believing I'd be gone and powerless, I recorded everything, every chuckle, every brag. He had no idea these moments would later haunt him. While preparing for my fake departure, I discovered Martin had double-crossed not just me but also his business partners. A single phone call to one of them could ruin him. I wrestled with morality, revenge, yes, but fairness too. I planned carefully. At a charity event, Martin publicly humiliated me, claiming I mismanaged a donation I never touched. I smiled, letting him believe he had one. Little did he know, cameras captured every detail, and every donation record was stored safely with my lawyer. I started receiving anonymous tips from someone who knew Martin's secret dealings. Each one revealed new layers of deception. I realized this was bigger than I imagined. My uncle had been exploiting many more people than just me. I decided to confront his network directly, showing them evidence in private. They listened, shocked, and some even thanked me. I realized my plan needed more than just one showdown. It required strategy, patience, and precise timing. Martin sensed my rising power and tried to bribe me, offering wealth and promises. I laughed in his face and secretly recorded the entire conversation. This would be the final proof to end his lies. The pressure mounted when Martin discovered I was speaking with one of his oldest allies. He cornered me, demanding answers, but I calmly reminded him, every word you said will be on record. His anger was visible, his composure slipping. One evening, I intercepted a transfer he made using my name. I traced every dollar and documented the fraud. The more I uncovered, the clearer it became. He thought he was untouchable, but I held the map of his downfall. I staged a fake mistake, pretending I lost all evidence. Martin gloated, confident I was ruined. In reality, I secured copies in multiple locations. The illusion of my failure made him careless, and that carelessness would be his undoing. Martin started making desperate calls to his lawyer and partners. I monitored every conversation, feeding my next moves. Each panic-stricken word was music to my ears. I leaked selective evidence anonymously to the press. Suddenly, Martin's reputation started cracking publicly. I watched his empire tremble, all while keeping my identity hidden. I approached one of Martin's former employees, who owed him a grudge. Together, we uncovered financial documents that exposed the full scale of his deception. The pieces were coming together perfectly. I finally confronted Martin with the receipts, all emails, contracts, and recordings neatly compiled. His shock was genuine, the first time he realized he was outmatched. He tried to bargain, but I calmly walked away, knowing the law and truth were on my side. Martin attempted a last-minute trick, trying to turn my allies against me. But I had anticipated this, presenting evidence in a way that exposed him again. Each attempt to regain control failed spectacularly. The climax arrived when Martin's business partners demanded accountability. He had no choice but to confess publicly. I stood there, calm, watching him crumble, my patience and careful planning paying off. In the aftermath, Martin faced legal consequences, and the people he exploited found justice. I reclaimed my scholarship, my future, and my dignity. But more importantly, I learned the power of patience, strategy, and keeping one's composure under betrayal. Finally, I visited the old family home where it all began. I left a folder on the desk, receipts, proof, and a note. Let this remind you that deceit has a cost. As I walked away, the camera lingered on Martin, silent, realizing the full extent of his mistakes.